Tell me something that we should care for, but we really do not care for. I will go first. Data privacy. Let me rephrase it. Children's data privacy. Now, as the result of this our ignorance, India has gotten not a very strong data privacy law. What I mean here is that if we see any kid who is preparing for a JEE exam might be getting ads regarding JEE coaching centers. A kid who is preparing for CLAT might be getting ads pertaining to EdTech, which provides for legal education. A kid who is in class 10th might be getting ads pertaining to medical or engineering. Even if we leave all of these apart, we are seeing even a 6-year-old kids are being targeted for the courses which teach coding. Now, this is what we call it as a target advertising. Is it good? Is it bad? I'm not going to dwell into it. Now, what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to limit myself to the fact that the upcoming data privacy law is going to screw up the edtech industry in India. But before proceeding, let's understand the quantum of the worth of edtech industry globally. As in 2020, the edtech industry was worth $227 billion. Now, if you ask me how big it is equivalent to the GDP of Pakistan, so it is pretty much huge. Now, you would be surprised to know that by year 2020, the value sprung exponentially, like during the COVID times as well. And the reason behind such exponential growth was their marketing team. Now, either they did a good job or they did a bad job. Either the case may be, their marketing team is going to market this company to the people, letting them know that they did a very efficient, a very amazing work, hence bringing clients for them. This much marketing, they will be getting this much client. This much marketing, they will be getting no clients. So marketing is super crucial. Now, you would ask, how do they market so efficiently? And the answer is target marketing. Let me give an example. For example, if there is an edtech which provides for biology teaching, and if it targets a student who has no interest in biology, guess what? No one is going to buy that course. But if they manage to find the crowd which is having an interest in the biology subject, then there is a very high probability that they could convert a part of that crowd as their client. And that is how important is target marketing. Now, how do they do this target marketing? The answer is by collecting data through two means. Either they themselves collect the data, and if they do so, they might be having our phone numbers. We could get a call, a counselor would tell us why should we take the course, or we could be getting emails every day, probably a text message or on WhatsApp. Or the second way is that they don't have the data, but the social media has the data. All what they need to do is to just put the advertisement and target the audience based on the data of say Instagram or Facebook. If Instagram knows that I am a law student, then Instagram is going to show me the ads pertaining to law courses, and that's how they do the target marketing. Till now, our privacy law has been super lenient with these companies. They let them collect whatever data they wanted to collect, even including the data of the children. Like whatever they want to do with that data, they could do that. They want to show an ad, they can show that. And if the social media wants to show a certain political ideology, they can do that. Now, some of you could just say that, come on Rohit, let's be serious and let's be practical. We all know that Supreme Court held that privacy is a fundamental right. Isn't it enough? Well, that is true, but you cannot enforce fundamental right against a private body. You can always enforce your fundamental right against the state, but not the private body. And let's be practical. Majority of these edtech platforms are private company, not a state. And that's why we are not going to enforce our fundamental right against these private bodies, be it the edtech platform or the social media giants. Currently, in the name of the data privacy law, right now, we have IT Rules 2011. And when we read it, it does not talk about processing of data pertaining to a child. But soon, we are going to get a new data privacy law. Right now, pending in the Parliament, the Data Protection Bill 2019. And interestingly, this bill does have a specific provision regarding the processing of data pertaining to a child. According to this bill, any person is holding your personal data for any reason or any mean or for any purpose. That person would be called as data fiduciary. Now, the data fiduciary has to make sure that if they are going to collect that data, if they are going to process that data and that data pertains to a child, they are going to do whatever they want, keeping in mind the best interest of the child. Like, sounds so noble, right? You could say that company could do now anything and then later on state that, okay, I thought that this was for the best interest of the child. Like, not so fast. The bill, apart from this noble clause, also provide for some specific requirements. Here, now the data fiduciary would require to get the consent of the guardian or the parent of the children. Let me re-clarify it. A person who is getting your data, be it company, entity, or a person responsible for collecting data in the company would be considered as a data fiduciary, and that data fiduciary would need to require to get consent from the parents, from the guardian of the children of whom the data is being collected. Now you could ask how they are going to collect the data. Well, the bill is silent about it, but once it becomes the act, we would get the rules and regulation in which they would prescribe the mode and the process of collecting such data. I mean consent. Now let's assume that they got the consent for the processing or collecting of the children data. Now what does it mean? Like, can they do anything with that data? Nope. And the answer is no, they can't. For example, the first prohibition is that the data fiduciary is not allowed to show the targeted advertisement to the children. So if a children has an iPad, they won't be getting ads pertaining to coding classes. It also prohibits the data fiduciary to track the data of the children and later on profile them the way Facebook do to us. For example, you search something like fry pan on Google and next advertisement you see in Facebook is of fry pan. Like that, but to the children. They can't do it. Now the question comes that how this is going to affect the edtech industry in India. Well, it will screw them for two reasons. The newer restriction is going to severely affect the way they do the marketing, they do the advertisement to the children. Now you would say that, come on Rohit, majority of these edtech platform does not target toddlers like 6-year-old toddler. They sometimes target the 10th class student, 11th class student, 12th class student, first year student, and here is when you are wrong. This bill does not define the term children. It does not define at which age the person would not be considered as children. And if we see the Indian Majority Act, it states that anyone who is below the age of 18 is the minor. And if we see the United Nations Charter on the Rights of Child, it defines anyone who is below the age of 18 as a child. And more importantly, India is signatory of this charter. So there is a very high possibility that the age of the children under this act will be someone who is below the age of 18 years old. So not only toddler, this privacy law is going to target someone who is up to the age of 17, who hasn't crossed the age of 18. And if we see the majority of edtech in India, a substantial portion of their clientele is someone who is at the age below of 18. And with so many restrictions, it is going to affect their substantial clientele. Then yes, they are screwed up. In case this video gave any value to you, hit the like button. And in case if you would want to see more such videos in future, hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much.